Hey YouTube! So this is pretty much my first vlog. I wanted to start vlogging a while ago and I made some videos, but I'm glad I didn't post them because it'll make sense more when I get into this video more. But I decided I'd start vlogging and I'm not really tired right now, so I decided I might as well start now. Um, I decided to make this video because even though it's May and a lot of these things happen in March, people are still asking me questions, and it's just easier for me to do this once and not have to answer anymore and just be able to go watch the video. You'll learn everything. Um, this video is about the miscarriage I had in March. So the previous vlogs I made that I didn't post were pregnancy vlogs. I had from 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 weeks, which is 9 vlogs. So that's that's a lot of vlogs to make. But I ended up waiting and not posting any. I just didn't really have the time because I was busy with school and everything else. And I'm kind of glad I didn't because I don't know. But um, most miscarriages are really hard for people to talk about. I mean, mine's still hard and it hurts, but I guess I don't have as hard of a time talking about it. I'm more comfortable talking about it now than I was, and I just want to get it out to people that it happens, and sometimes there's really nothing you can do to prevent it, and it's not your fault, and it hurts, and it's sad, and you might be angry and upset, but things happen for a reason. That's just how life is. Um, so I'm going to start. January 10th of 2013, I went to my annual checkup because I had stopped using the birth control pill because I can't take it because the hormones don't react well with my body. And January 10th, I went to get a new birth control. I was going to get NuvaRing. And I went in and they did my pregnancy test and it came back negative. And they gave me my NuvaRing and they told me to wait for my next period. And then after it was done, start using NuvaRing. They gave me the directions and everything. Well, at the time, my boyfriend and I, who were still together, and we're very, very happy, we were using condoms off and on, but not as often as we should have been. And I know that's stupid, and you should always have safe sex because things happen that you aren't ready for, or you just really don't want to happen all the time. Well, we had been using other methods that really aren't completely like close to the percentage that condoms or birth control are, and when it came time for my period, which was, let me pull up a calendar. I was supposed to get that period the 23rd of January. And my periods always came on a Wednesday ever since I started taking birth control. But it didn't come on the Wednesday. I was just like, okay, whatever. And I waited Thursday, and I waited Friday, and I started getting a little worried Friday. So I didn't go to school that day because I wasn't feeling too good. And I went and got a pregnancy test off of one of my friends. And I took it that morning. I held my pee in all morning, which was a hard thing to do because I'd been up for 3 hours. And within a minute, I got a positive pregnancy test. And that's this one. And I took the urine strip out like you're supposed to if you want to keep your pregnancy tests. But this is the first one. My first reaction was I started crying. My best friend was living with me at the time, and I went into the bedroom and woke her up, and she kind of slapped herself in the face a couple times and was like, oh my gosh, this is for real. And we cried, and my first automatic thought, like, we came downstairs out of the bedroom, and I called my friend who I got the pregnancy test off of, and I was crying, and she started crying, and she was just as shocked as I was, and my other best friend was. And after I got the phone with her, me and my best friend Audrey, which was my roommate, um, we just cried and we started talking about everything. Like, every thought races through your mind. I'm 18. I had just turned 18 in December. It wasn't even a month of being 18, and I found out I was pregnant. And, every thought goes through your mind at that point, and it's scary. It's really scary. Before it happens, you think, okay, people do it. It won't be that hard. But once it happens, you don't realize how much you really lose and how hard it's going to be. Like you might say, I don't like those things, but once you don't have the chance to do them, you wish you would have, or you wish you could have, but it's not about you anymore. And I thought really hard about that. Before I was pregnant, I always said, I've always been pro-choice. I always will be. Um, I always said if it wasn't the right time, that I would have an abortion just because I have a million and one health issues. I have diabetes, which I've had for about 7 years now. I have kidney failure and liver failure, along with a lot of other stuff that's wrong with my immune system and just other things. But something told me and her to where we both started crying, and at that moment we had already loved that baby. And there was nothing that I could have said or she could have said or anybody else could have said to change my mind that I was going to have the baby and I was going to do what I had to and raise it and make sure my health was completely fine and everything was okay. I had called my boyfriend after I found out, and he was with his dad, and I told him I was pregnant, and he just didn't really say anything. He was coming over after he got done with his dad, helping him. When he came over, we told my parents that night. My mom cried. She wasn't sad, she was just disappointed because she got pregnant with me when she was 17 and had me when she was 18. And she didn't want that for me because she knew how hard it was, and she knew it was going to be 10 times harder on me from my health and everything else just stacking against me. And she told us to really think about it for the weekend and give her the answer on Monday. And we already knew what the answer was in our minds. Monday, neither of us were still convinced that I was pregnant. So while we were waiting for my mom to get back home, we went to a store and gotten another pregnancy test for me to take. And as you see, this one came up positive as well, right there. Monday night, we told my mom we were going to keep the baby, and she supported us because she believed how strong we both were and we could do it. And my boyfriend, he had his own house, and we were trying to make it through, and we were going to for the baby. Well, I scheduled my first appointment, which happened in February. And I was about 7 weeks for that first appointment, but at 5 weeks, I started having some mild bleeding, so I went to the ER and they did an ultrasound, and they said the baby was growing fine, and there was a heartbeat and everything else. It was really little. The baby was about that big. They did an internal, and the baby still looked extremely small, and the internal's magnified a lot. Well, that went on, and we still hadn't told his parents. And it wasn't until about February 26th, 24th maybe, I think around there, that we were at his parents' house. And funny how he told his parents, he was playing with their dog, and the dog got angry because he's older, and he latched onto his face around his neck and bit him. And after they got the dog off of him, his mom was applying pressure to the bite to get the bleeding to stop, and he just screamed that I was pregnant. And it was just a stressful day, but we had their support too, even though they were disappointed as well. Well, we had gone to our first appointment where I got, a million and one different kinds of papers. I got my little important pregnancy thing, and they put my due date on there, which was October 3rd, and the maximum weight I should reach, and my blood type. And I got a bunch of other stuff about cord blood banking and where I live, the numbers for the health centers and everything else for classes and stuff like that, and about testing for Down syndrome. My second appointment I went in, all they did was check to see my cervix were closed and all that kind of stuff. They never checked for a fetal heartbeat, which I thought was really weird because I always thought they would do that. And that appointment was at 8.5 weeks. They told me they wouldn't do an ultrasound until 18 weeks, and I didn't want to charge my insurance or have to pay out of pocket to order one because I already had one at the hospital. So weeks went on, and my next appointment wasn't until April 1st. March 21st, me and my boyfriend were at our friend's house, and we were hanging out, and I got up to use the bathroom, and I had white and noticed the toilet paper was a little pink. So I told him, I'm like, I'm bleeding a little bit, but when I was bleeding at the hospital, they told me, the first trimester, a little light bleeding and, tiny little cramps are okay. So I was just like, all right, it's fine, the bleeding will stop. Well, as the night went on, around 10 o'clock, I got severe cramps, and I had him take me to the hospital, and we just got there on time because at our hospital near where we live, which isn't too great of a hospital, they don't have an on-staff OB-GYN. So they had to call one in from Washington, and we waited, and they gave me pain medicine and everything else to get an ultrasound. And I remember reading on my pregnancy ticker that at 12 weeks, which I was by that point, that when you touch your stomach, the baby will have a reaction back. And in an ultrasound, you can see the heartbeat with the little colored heat things they use. And when they took me back for the ultrasound, I was pressing on my stomach and I didn't see the baby move. And when they did the heat thing, I didn't see a heartbeat. So I got a little concerned, but they didn't tell me anything. And I went back to the room and I told my boyfriend that, and he was like, well, let's just wait and see. And the doctor came in and he told us, he just looked at us, he's like, I don't have good news. There is no heartbeat. The baby's dead. I'm sorry. And it was an awful way to break it to us, and I was really upset with how the doctor did it. We were really just devastated. He sent me home that night with my discharge papers, which, oh, there's my name, Rebecca Ann Schaefer, the date 3/21/13, and then right there, you were seen today for threatened abortion. I was seen by Mark Henses. My instructor interviewed for threatened miscarriage, and that was the 21st. And then they just wanted me to call in the morning for my doctor. And then they gave me these papers about what was going to happen. And it just tells you about what a miscarriage is and what it does and all that kind of stuff. And he pretty much told me that nothing I could have done would have changed it. It's probably a defect in the way the baby formed, which happens a lot early on in pregnancy. He said, 7 to 11 weeks, 7 to 10 weeks, that's the the time when miscarriages happen most. And because I was at 12 weeks, I thought, well, I'm past that point, it'll be okay. But the baby's heart had stopped beating 3 weeks prior. So the next morning, I called first thing when I got up and tried to get a hold of my OB/GYN office, and they would not answer. And as the day went by, my cramps got horrendously awful. I was crippled over in pain, and it was a horrible, horrible experience. Well, I finally got a hold of them after calling for about 4 hours, and they scheduled me for a D&C the next morning. By the next morning, my body had started contracting because the doctor gave me the option. He said I could either get the D&C or miscarry on my own, and I chose to get the D&C because I could not miscarry on my own. It's not something I'd want to do. I couldn't live with being traumatized. I just couldn't do it. I went in Saturday morning, and my body was contracting, and I was in pain and waited for about an hour. And finally, they took me back. I know my blood pressure dropped really low during the D&C, so I had to stay there longer and have an oxygen tube and everything put in. But other than that, it went really well. After I went back for my recheck, I got put on birth control. I'm on Mirena right now, and I'm having some bleeding, but that's all with that. But that's normal in the first couple months. But other than that, everything's good. Miscarriages are hard, and it can make you really sad, which it did at first. And I'd be lying if I said I still wasn't sad about it, but you just learn that things happen for a reason, and they make you who you are. I don't really want a baby right now, maybe in the future, but not right this second. I graduate this month on the 31st? Yeah, I graduate the 31st, and I start college in the fall, so I just want to enjoy some more time just for me and my boyfriend before we bring another life into the world. So, alright, until next time, bye guys.